My husband brought home the golden retriever 3 weeks before my 7th month of pregnancy. In my first life, I thought it was the sweetest thing he had ever done. In my second, I knew the dog was carrying my best friend's soul. That was why I smiled when it tried to lick me. "She's beautiful," I said. Adrian's shoulders relaxed. He had been watching my face too carefully. The dog sat in the middle of our living room with a pink ribbon tied around her neck, golden coat brushed until it shone. She looked gentle, expensive, almost absurdly wholesome. Only her eyes were wrong. Dogs looked curious. Happy. Nervous. Hungry. Those eyes looked calculating. They belonged to Willa Quinn. My best friend since college. The woman who had held my bouquet at my wedding. The woman whose hospital bills I had quietly covered when she became terminally ill. The woman who, in my first life, stole years from my body one lick at a time. I had learned the truth only after I died. By then, there was nothing left for me to save. Not my baby. Not my marriage. Not even myself. Adrian came up behind me and rested both hands on my shoulders. "I thought you could use company while I'm working late." His voice was warm. Practiced. Willa found her through a private rescue contact. She said this one had the calmest temperament she'd ever seen. At the sound of Willa's name, the dog lifted her head. That tiny reaction would have meant nothing to anyone else. To me, it was everything. "Did she?" I asked. Adrian kissed my temple. "You know Willa. Even from a hospital bed, she's thinking about you." I almost laughed. In my first life, I had repeated that same sentence to everyone. Willa was always thinking about me. When I was sick during college, she brought soup. When my father died, she slept on my couch for a week. When she developed a rare degenerative illness, I drove her to appointments, transferred money when her insurance stopped covering experimental care, and told Adrian to visit whenever I was too pregnant or too tired to go myself. I had loved her like a sister. Then I died and discovered exactly what that love had purchased. The golden retriever stood. She crossed the rug toward me. Her tail wagged. Her tongue slid over her teeth. I stepped back. Adrian frowned. "Nina?" "Just tired." The dog paused. For the first time, something like irritation flickered in her eyes. I crouched slowly. "Does she have a name?" "No." "I thought you should pick it." I looked straight into those human eyes. Willa Quinn. W. Q. I let the letters roll through my mind. Quinny. Adrian laughed. "That's cute." The dog's tail stopped for half a beat. There. She knew. Not that I remembered everything, but enough to make her wonder. I reached out and rubbed the fur behind her ears. "Hi, Quinny." Her eyes narrowed. Then she leaned in and licked the inside of my wrist. Cold raced under my skin. Not surface cold. Something deeper. A hollowing sensation. Like a breath had been pulled out through my pulse. My stomach tightened. The baby moved sharply. I jerked my hand away. Adrian saw it. "She startled you?" "No." I stood. "I'm going to lie down." Quinny followed me 3 steps. I turned. "No." The word came out flat. The dog stopped. Adrian laughed softly. "She's already attached." I smiled over my shoulder. I'm sure she is. Then I walked into my bedroom and locked the door. The second the latch clicked, my knees gave way. I sat on the floor with both hands over my belly. My baby kicked again. Strong. Alive. I pressed my forehead against the side of the bed and forced air into my lungs. In my first life, I had not understood the cold. Quinny had licked my hands the first night. My cheek the next morning. My belly that afternoon while I napped. Within days, white strands appeared at my temples. My skin turned dry. My joints ached. I went from a healthy 28-year-old woman to someone strangers thought was in her late 40s. My obstetrician ordered tests. Endocrine panels. Cardiac workups. Nutritional screens. Autoimmune evaluations. Nothing explained it. Then my baby stopped moving. I still remembered the ultrasound room. The blue light from the monitor. The technician going quiet. The doctor coming in. The way she reached for my hand before she said the words. I'm sorry. I can't find cardiac activity. I had thought grief would kill me. It didn't. Surgery did. At least that was what everyone believed. I hemorrhaged. My heart failed. My body shut down. Then I found myself floating near the ceiling, staring at my own face under surgical lights. I could hear the team calling for blood. I could hear a monitor flatten. I could hear someone say my time of death. And then the world shifted. I followed Adrian. I didn't know why. Maybe death leaves the soul tethered to unfinished terror. He went to Willa's private hospital room. The golden retriever was already there. The dog collapsed beside the bed. Something pale lifted from its body. A woman. Willa. Not sick. Not dying. Radiant. She slid into the wasted body on the bed. Willa's eyes opened. Color returned to her face almost instantly. Adrian grabbed her hand. It worked. She smiled. Better than I expected. He exhaled. Nina? Dead. Willa sat up slowly. She had more life in her than I thought. The pregnancy made the transfer easier. My dead heart somehow found a way to break. Adrian paced once. We need to make sure her studio shares transfer cleanly. The townhouse should be straightforward, and I'm already the beneficiary on the investment account. Willa laughed. Her money is useful. Her life was better. Adrian looked toward the door. You got enough? Years. She touched her own face. Maybe decades. Then she smiled the way the dog had smiled at me. She spent her whole life giving. I just helped her finish. I woke from death 3 weeks earlier. Same pregnancy. Same house. Same marriage. Same dog. Different me. A soft knock came at the bedroom door. Nina? It was Kayla, my studio manager and personal assistant. I unlocked the door. She slipped inside and shut it behind her. Kayla was 26, practical, loyal, and incapable of hiding concern. You scared me earlier. I need you to do something. Okay. Something you are going to hate. Her eyebrows drew together. I took her phone and typed a sentence into the Notes app instead of saying it aloud. Find an off-books dog breeding operation that asks very few questions. Kayla read it twice. Then looked at me. No. Kayla. Absolutely not. Her whisper was fierce. That dog is a living animal. So was I. She stared. I realized what I had said. I closed my eyes. There was no version of the truth I could tell her that would sound sane. I had died. My best friend had moved her soul into a dog. My husband had helped her drain my life. Now I wanted to make the body imprisoning Willa become a prison in every sense. Even I heard how monstrous it sounded. Kayla lowered her voice. What happened? I looked at her. I can't explain yet. Then don't ask me to arrange this. Please. She shook her head. I grabbed her hand. Just find the place. Nina. Find it. I will decide what to do after that. That was the first lie I told her. I had already decided. For the first few days, I pretended nothing had changed. Adrian went to work. Quinny stayed near me. I learned how to avoid her tongue without appearing afraid. I wore long sleeves, closed-toe slippers, loose maternity clothes that covered my legs. When she tried to climb onto the bed, I had her removed. When Adrian asked why, I said the smell made me nauseated. He looked disappointed. Not because I disliked his gift. Because Willa could not reach me. That told me enough. I also started collecting ordinary evidence. No supernatural claims. No accusations. Just facts. I downloaded our financial statements. Copied the current version of my will. Saved beneficiary designations. Pulled the operating agreement for Vale Row Studio, the interior design firm I had founded before marriage. I called my attorney, Mara Ellison. I want to update my estate plan. She did not ask why. Mara had represented me when I bought my townhouse years before I married Adrian. She knew exactly which assets were mine, which were marital, and which were subject to contractual succession terms. Pregnancy tends to make people think about this stuff, she said. That's one way to put it. What do you want changed? Adrian comes off every beneficiary designation I can legally change. Silence. Then, do you feel unsafe? The question nearly undid me. I gripped the phone harder. I don't know yet. That means we treat the answer as yes until we know more. Mara's voice turned professional. We can update the revocable trust, studio succession, investment beneficiaries, medical proxy, and property instructions. Some retirement assets may require spousal consent if you want someone else as primary beneficiary, depending on the plan structure. Then leave those alone for now. Who do you want controlling things if you're incapacitated? Not Adrian. That answer came easily. We scheduled documents for the next morning. By the time Adrian left for his business trip 3 days later, the foundation of his first life inheritance plan was already gone. He kissed me by the front door. 3 nights. I'll survive. Take care of Quinny. The dog sat beside him, eyes fixed on me. I will. Adrian crouched and rubbed her chest. Keep your mom company. Quinny leaned into him. It was not the affection of a dog toward a familiar human. It was intimacy. Recognition. Possession. Adrian stood. For half a second, his fingers brushed the dog's jaw in a way that made my skin crawl. Then he left. I waited until his car had cleared the gate. 5 minutes. 10. 15. Then Kayla walked in with a carrier and a face like she'd been sick all morning. I found a place. I looked at her. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. Because if you were going to go looking alone, you'd end up somewhere worse. She set the carrier down. It's outside Belmere. They operate under a fake boarding business. I don't know what they do with the animals after they're no longer profitable. Quinny stood. Her tail lowered. For the first time, she understood that something had changed. I walked toward her. She backed away. I crouched. Come here. She didn't. A normal dog would have responded to tone. Willa responded to meaning. I smiled. You remember what you did to me? The dog's ears went flat. Kayla stared. Nina? Quinny suddenly lunged forward and tried to lick my face. I did not move fast enough. Her tongue touched my cheek. Cold tore through me. My vision blurred. My baby kicked violently. Rage erased everything else. I caught the dog's collar and shoved her away. She stared at me. Human shock. Human fear. I wiped my face. You do remember. Quinny froze. Kayla whispered, "What the hell?" Carrier. We got the dog inside. Quinny fought so hard the plastic sides shook. She barked all the way to the car. Then she made a sound that was not a bark at all. N. Kayla's hands stopped on the steering wheel. You heard that. I did. That sounded like drive. 4 hours later, we reached the property. It sat behind a decaying farmhouse and a line of pine trees. The man who ran it called himself Hank Mercer. That was almost certainly not his real name. He was thick through the shoulders, shaved head, old tattoos showing beneath his sleeves. He looked at the carrier. Golden? Yes. Healthy? Healthy enough. He opened the carrier just far enough to inspect the dog. Quinny tried to bite him. He laughed. Got some attitude. I want her bread. Kayla turned her face away. Hank looked at me. How often? As often as you would normally consider possible. I did not give him numbers. I did not ask for methods. I did not want the details. I wanted only the outcome. He studied me. You understand repeated litters can destroy a female. I understand. Kayla whispered, Nina. I didn't look at her. Hank shrugged. Your dog. No. Not my dog. My murderer. That was what I told myself. It made the next step easier. Too easy. That should have frightened me more than it did. Quinny was dragged toward the back kennel. She twisted once. Looked straight at me. And for 1 second I saw the woman who had sat beside me through college finals, who had cried into my shoulder after breakups, who had toasted my marriage. Then the image vanished under the memory of my baby's silent ultrasound. I turned away. We stayed at a roadside inn. Not because I needed to watch every moment. I realized I didn't. I had thought revenge would require that. Instead, I sat on the edge of a cheap hotel bed with both hands over my stomach and felt empty. Kayla stood by the window. You going to tell me now? No. Then I'm leaving tomorrow. I looked up. She swallowed. I care about you. I don't know what happened, but this isn't you. It is now. No. She shook her head. Something happened to you. That is not the same thing. I almost told her. Then my phone rang. Adrian. I answered on video. Hey. Where are you? Out of town. His face tightened. Why? Studio project. Where's Quinny? There it was. Not how are you? Not how's the baby? The dog. At a boarding place. Let me see her. She isn't with me. Adrian's smile faded. What boarding place? I'll send you the information later. Nina. I watched his eyes. He was scared. What's wrong? Nothing. Then why do you look like that? He forced a laugh. Because Willa called. She's worse. The friend whose soul was locked in a dog had somehow called. Adrian was lying. Or someone at the hospital had called for her. Either way, he wanted me worried about Willa's human body. That's terrible. She asked for you. I'll visit when I'm back. She may not have long. I nearly smiled. Then I definitely shouldn't rush. Pregnant women need rest. His jaw flexed. Nina, that's not like you. No. I looked directly at him. It's not. The call ended badly. An hour later, Kayla's phone rang. She listened. Then slowly held it away from her ear. Hank says the dog is making sounds. What sounds? He says it sounds like a woman trying to talk. My pulse jumped. We drove back. Quinny was in a separate cage. She looked smaller already. Not physically. In spirit. When she saw me, she dragged herself forward. N. Nina. Kayla dropped her keys. Hank stepped backward. What the hell is wrong with this animal? I crouched. Say it again. The dog's throat worked. Nina. My entire body went cold. Willa was awake inside there. Not metaphorically. Not spiritually hidden. Awake. Trapped. Aware. Kayla gripped my shoulder. Nina, we need to call someone. Who? What do you mean who? A vet. The police. A priest. I don't know. Quinny pressed her head against the bars. Help. The word came out broken. I leaned closer. Would you have helped me? Her pupils widened. Help. Would you have stopped? She began shaking. You took my child's life. Hank stared between us. I don't want any part of this. I stood. You already took the money. I'm giving it back. No. I looked at Quinny. Keep her. Kayla caught my arm. This is insane. So was dying at 28. She went still. I finally told her. Not every detail. Enough. The first life. The unexplained aging. The baby's death. My death. The hospital room. Willow leaving the dog's body. Adrian waiting. Their conversation about my assets. The impossible second chance. Kayla sat down on an overturned bucket before I finished. When I stopped talking, she whispered, "I don't believe you." I wouldn't either. But that dog said your name. Yes. And it said help. Yes. Kayla looked at the cage. Then back at me. Even if all of that is true, what you're doing is still cruelty. Her words struck harder than I expected. I looked away. Go home. Nina, go home, Kayla. She did. For the next several weeks, I lived two lives. In one, I was Nina Parker, pregnant founder of a successful design studio, married to investment executive Adrian Cross, worried about my ill best friend. In the other, I drove to a hidden kennel outside Belmere and watched the body carrying Willa's soul deteriorate. I never touched the procedures. Never asked for details. Never wanted to know. Hank's updates were enough. The first pregnancy ended badly. The dog survived. Barely. When Hank told me she needed a long recovery, I told him not to wait as long as he preferred. That sentence haunted me later. At the time, it felt like justice. When Adrian returned from his trip, he found me at home arranging fabric samples. He set flowers on the table. "Where's Quinny?" "Still boarding." "For this long?" "She got sick." "I'll get her." "No need." Adrian looked at me. His eyes narrowed. "What place?" I kept my voice mild. "Why are you so worried about a dog you bought for me?" "Because she's mine too." "No. She was a gift." He did not like that answer. I smiled. "What's really bothering you?" "Nothing." "Then eat." He sat across from me. For the first time in our marriage, we both knew the other person was lying. Neither of us said it. The next morning, I visited Willa's hospital room. Her body looked terrible. Sunken cheeks. Dry lips. Hands almost translucent under the skin. Machines did most of the speaking. But her nails were healthy. Pink. Growing. That detail had terrified me in my first life only after I understood it. Her body was empty, but not dead. Something was feeding it from elsewhere. A thread. A tether. Life taken through the dog. Except now the dog wasn't taking mine. It was spending its own. I stood beside Willa's bed. We were friends for 12 years. Her fingers twitched. I leaned closer. Did any of it matter? Nothing. I paid your rent once. A monitor clicked. I slept in a chair beside you after surgery. Her hand moved again. I told my husband to look after you. My throat tightened. You took both of those things and used them to kill me. A faint tear slipped from the corner of her closed eye. I stared. Was it Willa? Was her body reacting? Did guilt live in flesh even when the soul was elsewhere? I didn't know. "I won't let you die yet," I whispered. Her pulse ticked on the monitor. I want you to understand what it feels like when your body is no longer yours. I left. In the stairwell, Kayla was waiting. She had not quit. Of course she hadn't. She handed me a folder. Mara finished the estate changes. I opened it. My studio would go into a professional continuity trust if I died. The townhouse would remain separate property and pass according to my updated trust instructions. My personal investment accounts no longer named Adrian. My medical proxy was Mara, not my husband. My baby's trust would be administered independently. Adrian's easy first life path to everything I owned had disappeared. Kayla watched me. Good. You're still angry. Yes. You believe me now? I believe something impossible is happening. That's not what I asked. She folded her arms. I believe you died. I believe Willa is in that dog. I believe Adrian knows. Then she looked me in the eye. And I believe you are becoming someone I don't recognize. I closed the folder. Maybe that's what survival costs. No. Her voice softened. Maybe that's what revenge costs. I hated her for saying it. Mostly because I knew she might be right. Adrian started investigating me. He checked the boarding businesses I mentioned. Called veterinarians. Asked our building security for footage. Hired someone to follow my car. He thought he was discreet. He wasn't discreet enough. Mara found the investigator's payment on a joint account. I moved my day-to-day funds to an account in my own name and left enough in the joint account to cover agreed household expenses. Then I photographed every statement. Adrian confronted me that evening. You moved money. My money. You're married. That doesn't make every account communal. What is happening to you? I looked at him. I could ask the same. He stepped closer. Where is Quinny? At a kennel. His face changed. What kind of kennel? A breeding kennel. For 1 second, he forgot to pretend. All color left his face. You did what? She's intact. They breed dogs. Nina. His hands clenched. Bring her home. Why? Because I said so. I laughed. That frightened him more than anger would have. You gave me the dog. I didn't give you permission to. He stopped. To what? Nothing. I tilted my head. Go on. He stared. She's an animal. So call animal control. His expression froze. Call them. Tell them your pregnant wife took the dog you gave her to an illegal breeding operation. His eyes hardened. Maybe I will. Then explain why you are more panicked about that dog than about your best friend's medical collapse. Willa is your friend. She's yours too. His breathing changed. I stepped closer. How close? Nina. How close, Adrian? He said nothing. The silence answered enough. He left the house that night. 3 days later, Hank called. Your husband is here. I was already getting dressed before he finished the sentence. Is he alone? Yeah. Let him see her. You're sure? Yes. When I arrived, Adrian was kneeling in front of the cage. Quinny had survived another pregnancy. Her hind legs no longer worked properly. Her coat had lost its shine. When she saw him, she tried to drag herself forward. The sound made Adrian recoil. He looked over his shoulder at me. You knew. I stopped 6 feet away. Knew what? Don't. His voice cracked. You knew who she was. Say it. No. Say her name. His eyes filled with something I had never seen there before. Fear. Please. I laughed softly. Willa didn't say please when I was dying. Adrian stood. How do you know? There it was. A current life admission. Not enough by itself. But I had planned for this. Kayla had installed a small audio recorder in my coat pocket with Mara's advice and explicit instruction that I preserve, not publish, anything until counsel reviewed legality and context. I kept my voice level. Know what? About the ritual. My heart slammed. He realized too late. His mouth closed. I said, what ritual? He stared at me. Nothing. Why would Willa be inside a dog? Stop. Why did you bring that dog into my house? Nina. Why did you insist she lick me? I never. Why did you tell me she was there to keep me company during pregnancy? His face went gray. I took 1 step toward him. In another life, I died. Our baby died. You went straight to Willa's hospital room. I heard you talk about my property. He shook his head. No. I heard you say the townhouse would be yours. No. I heard you say you were the beneficiary. You're insane. Maybe. I pulled out my phone. But in this life, I changed everything. His eyes moved to the phone. The studio won't pass to you. He swallowed. The townhouse won't pass to you. Silence. My separate investment accounts won't pass to you. He looked physically ill. And if anything happens to me now, my attorney has instructions to turn over every record I have of your conduct. His voice dropped. What do you have? Enough to make your life very uncomfortable. It was partly bluff. I had financial records. Estate documents. His investigator payment. Hospital access logs showing his repeated visits to Willa. Messages where he pressured me to visit her. And now, perhaps, a recording of him referring to the ritual. Supernatural truth might never stand up in court. But fraud, conspiracy, financial misconduct, coercion, and any evidence of an attempt to harm me were ordinary enough for investigators to understand. Adrian looked toward the cage. Quinny was staring at him with raw desperation. He took a step. I moved aside. Take her. He looked at me. You can. Quinny scratched weakly at the cage door. Adrian reached for the latch. Then stopped. If I take her, what happens? I call Mara. He knew the name. His expression darkened. My attorney. What have you told her? Not the supernatural part. That made him pause. I told her I am afraid my husband may benefit if I die. His jaw tightened. I told her he has been behaving strangely around a dog connected to my critically ill friend, Nina. I told her to preserve everything if I disappear. Quinny made another broken sound. Adrian. He flinched. The dog had said his name. Hank, standing near the office door, crossed himself. Adrian looked at Quinny. Then at me. Then toward the road. He made his choice. He walked away. Quinny stared after him. For a few seconds she seemed not to understand. Then a scream tore out of her. Not a bark. Not even close. Adrian! Hank dropped his cigarette. Kayla, who had come with me, covered her mouth. Adrian did not turn back. That was when Willa finally learned the thing I had learned while dying. Adrian would protect himself first. Always. The next morning, he asked for a divorce. He arrived with a proposed settlement drafted by his attorney. He looked exhausted. Keep the townhouse. It was mine before marriage. Fine. Keep your studio. Also mine. His mouth flattened. We split marital cash and investments according to the statements. Through counsel. Fine. He pushed the papers toward me. I want out. I looked at him. Of the marriage? Of this. His eyes moved around the kitchen as if the walls were haunted. I had expected triumph. Instead, I felt tired. Okay. He looked surprised. You'll sign? After Mara reviews it. He stood. At the door, I said, Willa's body is failing. His back went rigid. I had visited the hospital that morning. Multi-organ decline. No neurologic response. Her attending physician had told me, gently, that the body had reached the edge of what medicine could sustain. I don't know what you're talking about. Of course. I watched him. If her body dies while her soul is still trapped in the dog, what happens? His shoulders began shaking. I did not know the answer. Neither did he. That was the point. He left without looking back. Willa's body died 2 days later. Her mother called me. I went to the hospital. Not because Willa deserved my grief. Because the woman on the other end of the phone did. Mrs. Quinn had no idea. She cried into my shoulder. She loved you so much. I stood there and let her believe it. I hated myself for that lie. At the kennel, Quinny changed the moment Willa's human body died. Hank called me that afternoon. Something's wrong. With the dog? She won't stop making that sound. What sound? He hesitated. Laughing. I drove out. Quinny lay in the cage, hindquarters useless, eyes open. And she was laughing. A rough, broken, terrible sound. Not joy. Not madness exactly. Recognition. She knew. Her human body was gone. There was nowhere to return. She had wanted extra years. Instead, she had locked herself inside a body she had treated as disposable. She looked at me. Nina. I crouched. Her voice was worse now. Dead. Yes. Body. Yes. She began laughing again. Then crying. The sounds became indistinguishable. For the first time, revenge did not feel good. I watched her for less than a minute. Then I walked outside and threw up. Kayla held my hair. When I finished, she handed me water. You can stop. I know. Then stop. I looked back at the kennel. I haven't. No. Her voice was quiet. You haven't. The next months blurred. The dog survived repeated pregnancies because Hank kept it alive. That sentence alone should have stopped me. It didn't. I told myself Willa had taken my baby's life. I told myself she had stolen years from me. I told myself she had planned my death with my husband. Every justification was true. None of them changed what I was becoming. By the time the dog could no longer stand, I stopped visiting often. Hank sent updates. I paid the bills. I let the punishment continue at a distance. That made it easier. Cowardly, but easier. Meanwhile, my real life improved. Without Quinny near me, the white hairs stopped appearing. My energy returned. My skin recovered. My obstetrician was puzzled by the improvement but pleased. The baby grew normally. Every ultrasound became proof that this life was still mine. Adrian moved into a furnished apartment. Our attorneys handled the divorce. He stopped calling except through counsel. His absence made the house quiet. At first, I loved the silence. Then I realized how much of my adult life had been shaped around avoiding conflict with him. I ate what I wanted. Left books on the coffee table. Moved his expensive wine refrigerator out of the kitchen and turned the space into storage for baby supplies. Small things. Ridiculous things. Freedom often is. Kayla pushed me to go back to work part-time. Mara pushed me to finish the divorce documents. My obstetrician pushed me to sleep. Everyone around me was trying to pull me toward life. And I kept one part of myself tied to a cage outside Belmere. The third time Hank called to say the dog was close to death, I drove out. Quinny lay on her side. Her coat had thinned. Her eyes looked enormous in her face. No anger. No pleading. Almost nothing. Hank stood behind me. You want to keep going? I stared through the bars. In my mind, I saw the operating room again. The dead monitor. My own body. Willa's smile. Then I saw something else. Kayla's face when she said, "This isn't you." I opened the cage. Hank caught my arm. Careful. Quinny did not move. I knelt. Willa. One ear twitched. Willa Quinn. Her eyes shifted toward me. There. Still in there. Barely. Nina. The sound was a breath. I pressed my lips together. You remember me. A tiny movement. Maybe yes. Maybe nothing. I sat back on my heels. I wanted you to suffer. Her eyes closed. I wanted you to understand exactly what it felt like to have your body used against you. A tear slid into the fur near her muzzle. And you do. I drew a slow breath. But if I keep going until there is nothing left of you, then I am not surviving you anymore. Her eyes opened. I am becoming you. For a long time, there was only the hum of a distant fan. Then I said, no more. Hank frowned. What? No more breeding. He stared. You paid for. I don't care. What do you want me to do with her? Get a veterinarian. His expression changed. A real one? Yes. I looked at him. And after the vet stabilizes her, I want her transferred to a licensed sanctuary or medical foster that will take a severely disabled dog. Hank scratched his jaw. That costs money. Send the bill to my attorney. He gave a short laugh. You rich people are strange. You're not wrong. I looked back at Quinny. Her mouth moved. I leaned closer. Thank. My throat closed. No. She blinked. Don't thank me. I stood. I'm not forgiving you. Her eyes followed me. I am stopping because I don't forgive myself for this anymore. Then I walked out. Kayla was waiting by the car. When she saw my face, she knew. Done? Done. She exhaled. I leaned against the car. For the first time since my rebirth, I cried. Not for Willa. Not for Adrian. For me. For the woman who had died trusting them. For the woman who had come back and believed cruelty was the only language betrayal understood. For my baby, who had never needed revenge. Only a living mother. Kayla hugged me. I let her. A week later, Mara called. Your divorce settlement is ready for signature. Anything unusual? Adrian dropped his claim to several disputed marital assets. Why? I suspect he wants this over. So do I. One more thing. Her tone changed. His company has opened an internal investigation. I sat straighter. Into what? Financial reporting. That part had nothing to do with me. At least not directly. Adrian was a managing partner at Cross Meridian Capital, a private investment firm he had helped build. In my first life, I knew almost nothing about how the company made money. I knew only that Adrian came home late, traveled often, and treated compliance rules as problems for other people. Now, one of his business partners had reported irregular transfers. The investigation widened quickly. Hidden side agreements. Expense fraud. Payments routed through shell vendors. Tax reporting issues. Undisclosed conflicts. Adrian had always believed being smart meant being untouchable. It did not. Mara told me not to celebrate until charges actually existed. I didn't celebrate at all. I just kept records. 3 weeks later, investigators contacted me. They asked whether Adrian had ever moved marital funds through accounts I didn't recognize. I gave them statements. Nothing more. No speculation. No supernatural story. Facts. That was enough. The day Adrian was arrested, I was at Bellwether Women's Medical Center for my 29-week scan. The baby kicked while the sonographer measured him. Strong heartbeat. I closed my eyes. In my first life, there had been silence at this stage. Now the room was full of sound. Fast. Steady. Alive. I started crying. The sonographer paused. Are you okay? Yes. I laughed through the tears. I'm very okay. When I left the hospital, Kayla was waiting in the car. She held up her phone. Adrian. A local news alert showed him being escorted from Cross Meridian's headquarters. No handcuff spectacle. No screaming. Just a man in an expensive coat walking beside investigators with a face that had lost all confidence. Charges would take time. Financial cases did. The article said the investigation involved fraud, tax offenses, bribery-related allegations, and misuse of company funds. His attorney denied wrongdoing. I switched off the screen. "How do you feel?" Kayla asked. I thought about it. Like I don't have to do anything. She smiled. That's new. Very. We drove home. That evening, I received a call from the veterinary sanctuary caring for Quinny. The woman introduced herself as Dr. Elena Moss. She's declining. I sat by the nursery window. Is she in pain? We're managing it. Can she recover? Not meaningfully. I closed my eyes. Then don't prolong suffering for my sake. There was a pause. Are you the legal owner? Yes. We need a decision. In my first life, Willa had decided how long I got to live. For months in this life, I had tried to decide how long she should suffer. I was done making life a weapon. Follow humane veterinary guidance. Dr. Moss's voice softened. Understood. Quinny died that night. Quietly. No cage. No breeding shed. No one forcing her body to continue. Just sedation, pain control, and a final heartbeat under the hand of a veterinary nurse. Dr. Moss asked if I wanted the ashes. No. Would you like a memorial tag? I almost said Willa's name. Then stopped. No name. All right. I hung up. For several minutes, I sat in the dark nursery. Then I opened my messages. Willa's last text from before her supposed medical collapse was still there. Nina, thank you for always showing up for me. You're the best friend I've ever had. I stared at the words. In another life, they had been part of the disguise. Now they looked like evidence from a version of myself I no longer lived inside. I deleted the conversation. Then the contact. Then every shared album I no longer wanted. Not because the past had disappeared. Because I had finally stopped treating memory like a courtroom. Some things did not need another trial. My divorce became final 6 weeks before the baby was due. Adrian signed from detention through counsel. His criminal case was still pending. Mara warned me not to discuss it publicly. I had no desire to. I did not post revenge quotes. I did not tell social media that karma had arrived. I did not explain Willa. I went home and assembled a crib badly. Kayla fixed it. You founded a design studio. I design rooms. I do not manufacture furniture. You put one side on backward. Creative interpretation. She laughed. The sound filled the house. At 37 weeks, I went into labor. Nothing about childbirth felt poetic. It hurt. I swore. I changed my mind about natural breathing techniques in under 10 minutes. I threatened to fire Adrian from a marriage he was no longer part of. Kayla laughed so hard a nurse had to tell her to stop. Then, hours later, my son cried. A real cry. Loud. Furious. Alive. They placed him on my chest. I touched his tiny back. For one terrifying second, I remembered another body. Another operating room. Another ending. Then my son opened his mouth and screamed again. I laughed. Good. The nurse smiled. Good? Keep yelling. He did. I named him Owen. Not after anyone. Not to replace anyone. Just because I liked the name. That was another kind of freedom. Months passed. Adrian eventually accepted a plea agreement covering multiple financial offenses. The sentence was measured in years, not headlines. His career was over. Most of his professional reputation disappeared with it. I felt no satisfaction reading the final order. Only distance. The system had done what I once thought revenge had to do. Investigate. Document. Charge. Decide. Punish. Without needing me to destroy myself in the process. I returned to Vale Row slowly. At first, 2 mornings a week. Then 3. I installed a crib in my office for the days I wanted Owen nearby. Clients pretended not to notice spit up on my blazer. Some actually didn't notice. Life became ordinary. Exhausting. Expensive. Messy. Safe. One afternoon, Mara came to the studio with the last divorce accounting packet. You're officially done. I thought I was officially done months ago. This is the boring done. Best kind. She smiled. Then her expression turned serious. I never asked you why you were so afraid. I looked through the glass wall of my office. Owen slept in the crib. Kayla was arguing with a contractor over tile samples. Sunlight covered the drafting table. I had reasons. I figured. Some you wouldn't believe. Mara closed her file. You don't have to tell me. I know. That mattered. In my first life, Willa had weaponized everything I told her. My loneliness. My fears. My marriage problems. My finances. My pregnancy. Adrian had weaponized what I signed and what I trusted him to handle. For a while after coming back, I believed safety meant telling no one anything. Then Kayla learned enough to help me. Mara learned enough to protect me. My doctors learned enough to care for me. Trust had not been the mistake. Trust without boundaries had been. That distinction saved more than my money. It saved the person I wanted to be. On Owen's first birthday, Kayla gave him a stuffed golden retriever. I stared at it. She immediately froze. Oh, hell. I didn't think. For 3 full seconds, neither of us moved. Then I started laughing. Not a polite laugh. A helpless one. Kayla joined in. Owen grabbed the toy by one ear and chewed it. Well, I said, wiping my eyes, he seems to have the situation under control. That night, after everyone left, I sat on the nursery floor. The stuffed dog lay beside the crib. For a long time, I listened to Owen breathe. Then I thought about Willa. I did not miss her. That surprised me. What I missed was who I had believed she was. The friend who shared cheap noodles with me in college. The friend who stayed awake when my father died. The bridesmaid who cried during my vows. Maybe some of those moments had been real. Maybe betrayal does not erase every good day that came before it. It only changes what those days can mean afterward. I could live with that. I thought about Adrian too. The flowers. The trips. The way he used to bring coffee to my studio without asking. The way he once drove across the city at midnight because I had left my sketchbook at home. People were not monsters every second of every day. That was what made them dangerous. If cruelty always announced itself, no one would stay close enough to be hurt. My mistake had not been loving. It had been believing love exempted people from scrutiny. It didn't. So I rebuilt my life around a simpler rule. Affection was not evidence. Promises were not evidence. History was not evidence. Behavior was. Over the next few years, Vale Row grew. Not explosively. I stopped wanting explosive things. Steady contracts. A reliable team. Good cash reserves. Insurance. Clear operating agreements. A succession plan that did not depend on marriage. I kept therapy appointments even when I felt fine. Especially when I felt fine. Trauma had taught me that crisis was easier to recognize than drift. Sometimes I dreamed about the operating room. Sometimes about the kennel. Those dreams were worse. In one, Willa would be behind the bars with my face. In another, I would be inside the cage while another version of myself stood outside smiling. I always woke before I knew which one was the victim. My therapist said dreams did not deliver verdicts. They revealed pressure. That helped. I told her I had done something cruel after surviving something cruel. She did not ask for details I wasn't ready to give. She only said, the important question is what you do with that knowledge now. So I did something. Quietly. Through an attorney, I funded a veterinary rescue grant for dogs seized from illegal breeding operations. No public announcement. No name attached. Kayla found out because she saw the transfer. She looked at me. You know that doesn't erase anything. I know. Good. I don't want it to. She nodded. That was the entire conversation. I never went back to Belmere. Years later, when Owen was old enough to ask why I had no wedding photos around the house, I told him the age-appropriate truth. Your father and I were married. We made choices that hurt each other. We aren't together now. Was he bad? Children love simple categories. I thought carefully. He did bad things. To you? Yes. Do you hate him? I looked at my son. No. That answer surprised me. I don't trust him. I don't want him in my life. I don't forgive some things he did. But hate takes a lot of space. Owen frowned. More than building blocks? Much more. Then don't keep it. I smiled. That's the plan. Adrian wrote to me once from prison. The letter arrived through Mara. I almost threw it away unopened. Then I read it. He did not apologize well. He explained. Defended. Minimized. Said Willa had convinced him the ritual would only make me tired. Said he never believed the baby would die. Said he panicked when things went too far. Said he loved me in his own way. That phrase made me close my eyes. In his own way. People use that sentence to excuse almost anything. At the end, he wrote that he had thought about the moment at the kennel when Quinny called his name. He admitted that he had walked away because he was afraid I had enough evidence to ruin him. Not because he thought Willa deserved what happened. Not because he stopped caring. Because he chose himself. Finally, one honest sentence. I did not reply. I gave the letter to Mara for the file. Then I went home. Owen was in the kitchen with Kayla trying to make pancakes. There was batter on the ceiling. I still do not know how. I stood in the doorway. Owen looked at me. Don't be mad. I'm deciding. Kayla pointed at him. His idea. Traitor. I laughed. That was my life now. Not a perfect ending. A living one. The difference mattered. Sometimes, on quiet afternoons, I remember the last thing I said to Willa at the kennel. I am stopping because I don't forgive myself for this anymore. For months, I thought that sentence meant I had failed at revenge. Later, I understood it was the first time I truly won. Willa had wanted my life. Adrian had wanted my assets. Together, they reduced me to what they could take. Years. Money. Property. A business. A child. When I came back, I almost made the same mistake in reverse. I reduced Willa to a body I could punish. I reduced Adrian to a target I needed to corner. I reduced myself to the person who survived them. But survival is not an identity. It is a doorway. You are supposed to walk through it. So I did. I walked into court with clean financial records and walked out divorced. I walked into a delivery room terrified and walked out carrying my son. I walked back into my studio with milk stains on my shirt and rebuilt my work. I walked into therapy when I would rather have called anger strength. I walked away from a cage before revenge finished turning me into someone I would not recognize. That was the part no one could do for me. Not Kayla. Not Mara. Not the law. Not fate. The first life taught me that trust can kill you when you hand it to people who have not earned it. The second taught me something harder. Distress can hollow you out too if you let it become the only thing keeping you alive. Now, when Owen asks me why I double-check contracts, I tell him details matter. When he asks why I never let anyone pressure me into signing something immediately, I tell him time is useful. When he asks why Aunt Kayla has emergency access to the house but no one else does, I tell him trust is specific. One day, when he is old enough, I may tell him the rest. Maybe he will think the soul transfer was a metaphor. Maybe he will believe me. Maybe it won't matter. What matters is that he is here to hear the story. What matters is that I am here to tell it. On the anniversary of the day Adrian first brought Quinny home, I took Owen to the park. He was 5. He chased pigeons. Fell down twice. Demanded ice cream before lunch. At one point, a golden retriever ran past us. My entire body went rigid. The dog stopped. Looked at me. Then wagged its tail. Ordinary eyes. Nothing hiding behind them. Its owner apologized. She's friendly. Too friendly. I swallowed. It's okay. The dog sniffed Owen's shoe. He laughed and crouched to pet her. Mom, can we get one? No. The answer came so fast the owner laughed. Owen looked offended. Why? I thought about it. Because I know exactly how much work dogs are. That was true enough. He sighed dramatically. Maybe when I'm older. Maybe. The dog ran off. My pulse slowed. I watched sunlight move through the trees. Once, I had died in a windowless operating room believing everything had been stolen from me. Now my son was beside me complaining about ice cream. My studio had a full project calendar. My home belonged to me. My body belonged to me. My future belonged to me. That last one mattered most. I bought Owen the ice cream. He got chocolate on his shirt within 30 seconds. I did not care. We sat on a bench while the afternoon warmed around us. Mom? Yeah. Tell me a story. What kind? A good one. I smiled. I know one. Does it have monsters? Yes. Magic? Unfortunately. Does somebody win? I looked at him. Eventually. Who? I leaned back and let the sun touch my face. The person who stays alive long enough to choose a different ending. Owen considered this. That's not very exciting. I laughed. Give it time. He took another bite of ice cream. I looked out across the park. In my first life, I died on a cold table under surgical lights. In this one, I was alive in a warm afternoon with my son beside me. For a long time, I thought that was revenge. It wasn't. It was better. It was mine.